Please just work today. Monday was already catastrophic enough. Then you don't mind just to work, do the things. Yes? Please tell me it is actually working. Twitch is going. I'm gonna go ahead and run that 30-second ad so people can come in and not have to worry about an ad. If you happen to already be here, don't worry, you're not missing anything. I'm just pushing buttons, making sure everything else is working. Hey. Mills, how you doing? How's your stuff? How's your things? Everything else seems to be working. And I do have it sitting on the correct thingy. Technical terms. Thingy, I'm shocked that this is actually working. All of Monday was a catastrophe. It's like, without my knowledge, something on the PC updated and broke everything. Camera wasn't working. My microphone wasn't working. The stream deck wasn't working. It was crazy. Eventually got it sorted though. Thankfully. Okay. Zombie, how you doing? I drank out of the wrong side of the can. How's people's weeks going today? It's starting out pretty good. We're on Wednesday. It's like hump day, so everybody having a good hump day? Tigress just woke up. Just heard her open her door. Thank you for the resub! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just bought your first ever subscription, it's to me? Well, thank you. It says you've been subscribed for 3 months, though. You have been here at the opportune times, right? Stuff and things are good? Got your tinfoil hat ready to protect the noggin from those aliens? Yeah, exactly. This one might be a little bit complicated because we're gonna have to go over to the burned biome. I'm trying to go in order, so we took out Pine Forest last time, and now we gotta go to the burned biome, and I have no idea what we're going to find, because I haven't actually checked out this biome very much. Even when I played Navezgane, I usually just went right through this biome without paying it much attention. So all those were gifted. This is the first one. Oh, well, zombie, thank you. So, how do we even work on this? At least that one, I knew that there was a specific town. There's bound to be... Well, there's a town there. Does it seem like a storm is coming in? Of course there's a storm coming in. Weather... Fog 0? Ah, there we go. Now we can see. It looks gross, but now we can see. Okay, what can we see though? It does look like there's something over there too. Individual POI. Has anything changed about this one? That is typically where I think most people would probably enter this area, right? A Hyde residence. It's not precisely connected to anything, so I don't think we're going to worry about this one. Most of what we're going to find out here are remnants. As opposed to the wasteland, what do we think actually happened in the burned biome? Like a forest fire or something? Yoon, how you doing? Damn those sub-gifters. Yeah. For camo. Okay, so this is one of the ones that has something underground, correct? Yeah? Hold on, we gotta... Freeze everybody. Okay, so you are in the middle of nowhere. Not really connected to a whole lot. There's a farm right there. Is that Bob Spores by chance? Can't tell. Hop in! No, it's not. You are Shady Swine. Could be interesting to take a look at that one too, but... Oh yeah, I also need to be recording this, just in case we happen to come up with something or find something that's interesting. Definitely need to make sure we have it. Question. Why is this place here? It's not like an official base, you know, like any base. It's not an official base. They're tents. What are they doing? Base. Yes, it's spoken what? Good morning. Huh? 7 days. We are lure hunting in Navezgane. Is that warm in your room? Why?
On.
Just
hear it volume-wise, and I don't want to...
Turn it down. Turn on the captions.
I can't. I have a fan on.
Uh-oh. 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 I'm sitting here wondering, okay, if this place is out in the middle of nowhere and it's not burnt down or anything, was this deployed after whatever happened here happened here? They said hi, Tigress! A forest fire that started when the apocalypse started, for example, The Walking Dead. Some people in this show have been said during the military carpet bombing, the fire spread so badly no one was there to put them out. That's probably true. I mean, there was bombing. All it takes is someone having a campfire and not putting the campfire out, and given the fact that it's the apocalypse and you can get chased away from your campfire by a zombie or something like that, and you can't put it out, it's surprising more of the place didn't burn. So whether by bombing, by explosions caused by pipes bursting, pilot lights not being blown out, whatever it is, quite possibly the burn biome is because of forest fire, which is why we don't have green anything here at all. Who are these folks? Okay. Let's put ourselves in the mind of what happened. There's a flu devastating everything. It's like decimating the entire health industry. People are like maybe self-isolating. Higashi's like, give us a second, we'll come up with some kind of miracle drug. They start passing out the miracle drug. People start changing. It still would probably be helpful to know whether or not people died of the drug, or if when they died, they zombified. I did not mean for that to rhyme. But it would be interesting to know whether or not this was slow-moving or fast-moving. But either way, it basically made it to where, like, the firefighters or anything else like that, they really couldn't be here to take care of the fire. So at that particular point, what, military bases, people were deployed, National Guard were out trying to take care of things, and after everything fell, people started consolidating back with the groups that they knew and understood. Maybe some of them got together and set up a base. So maybe this base formed afterwards? Reaper, how you doing? I've wondered what would happen to this whole area to have it burn. Would fire burn so completely? From known experience, fire explosions burn does not look like that. It's a high-yield explosive would not have left that many trees, so fire, sure, but born completely. I think the issue is this probably would have been in specific areas. Like right now, every single year, we basically have forest fires in specific areas of the US. I think Australia also has them. There's probably a few other places that we don't know about, where it's just basically, it's a natural phenomenon for those places to burn. It gets rid of the underbrush, and it's also how some trees replicate. Like, did you know that pine trees, they have to burn the cone in order for the cone to open and allow the seed to come out? That's how they plant themselves. That's actually part of their process. They've evolved that way because it's so like clockwork this happens. So whether or not this area was intentionally done or not intentionally done after so many... Okay, we're gonna wear a mask, stand 6 feet apart, get 10 booster shots. Wait, wrong virus. Yes, exactly. Let's speculate what is going on nowadays, why the fires feel so significant as opposed to the way they used to be. There are more people in areas that would burn every single year. They don't obviously want their businesses, their houses, or whatever to burn, so it becomes a big problem. Secondly, forest conservation in certain areas say don't do preventative burning. So they have a buildup of underbrush that wouldn't normally be there. Would this stuff burn like it's supposed to? If seasonal burns actually happened naturally, like the woods normally would do themselves with lightning strikes and stuff like that, since they're not happening, they're building up layers and layers and layers of undergrowth that now feed the fire and make it 1,000 times stronger, make it burn more acreage, and basically make it to where people can't... Well, they have a hard time putting them out, and more people are in the way of them. So if we assume that this world is similar to ours, we have a lot of people telling them, no, don't preventative burn, don't back burn, don't... let's section off this piece of wilderness for national something or another, so no, we're not burning here to do preventative anything. And then suddenly the spark hit whatever it was, whether it was a bomb that dropped, whether it was a natural burn, whether or not it was someone's house that's out here in the boonies who had a pilot light that exploded because they had their propane going and they left and didn't realize that the propane had gone out, and that got everything going. And because there's nobody out here to stop it, there's nobody putting in barriers, there's nobody dropping water on it, it went crazy. And it was only propelled by the fact that more of the area was not maintained properly or allowed to burn when it should. This is actually quite possibly something that would face most of the US because so many areas are, well, they're populated by areas that use gas, so if they explode, they go. Some of the areas that would naturally burn themselves, they don't allow it to happen, and they don't do preventative burns. So this would probably happen in a lot of places. So this represents the mountains, Colorado. What are the states that usually burn like practically every single year? They have a burn. I know California had it, but that was a completely different problem and suspect. I mean, like the natural ones that actually happen. Maybe there's some kind of pesticide as fireproof. I think the thing is they probably burned out. Like, obviously they wouldn't go into the snow biome because eventually weather itself stopped it. This line right here is possibly because there was enough moisture here to stop it from continuing. One of the factors that you have to have up in the mountains, it's dry, during the dry season when the burn happens. If that area has got a whole lot of moisture, it's not going to burn as easily. So this could quite easily be weather pattern stopped it. I'm not sure if it would have been this widespread, but I mean, entirely possible. There's nothing there for it to burn in the desert, so obviously it stopped there, and in the wasteland, that's where the bomb actually dropped or whatever, so it was already burnt before the fire got to it, so can we possibly say that the burn biome is not because of the bombs, or not just because of a bomb? You're using your sci-fi brain? Oh, that's fine, that's fine. New green grew over burnt stuff and you could tell that there's a fire even years later. Yeah, that's true, that's true. Because there would still be, like, trees that didn't fully... These right here would probably be on an intermediary layer mixed in with new growth, but they've got hard barriers between their biomes instead of integrating them better. Montana, Colorado, Oklahoma, kind of mid-US, Florida, but then not sure if it's natural. We had one here in Georgia, not sure if that was natural either. Yeah, let's try and not... Wolfgar, how you doing? Let's not try and take the ones that are suspicious or possibly man-made because of reasons. There are several areas where there have been suspect burns. Maui, the one in Georgia, the storm that happened in South Carolina. There's some abnormalities that are going on that coincide with land acquisition that I won't get into because my tinfoil hat is not quite that big right now. As far as like the usual stuff, Arizona's not usually one that burns, right? And again, Arizona's got a few different biomes than I actually knew that it had because in my mind, Arizona, Nevada and stuff, they're desert. They're not just desert though. So do areas of that burn every year? So possibly natural? Maybe something was used to make a barrier? Something was used to make a barrier, or the area had enough water to stop the spread. Like, okay, if this is... I don't know if you guys are... Well, that video is not out yet. I don't want to step on the toes of today's video. The time period between the apocalypse and now is not... It's not as far into the future as we think. I won't say how I know that. So this tells me this burnt not long ago. That's the reason why things are still on fire. It was probably just a couple of years ago, and some fires can smolder for months, even a year later, assuming there's enough buildup, and I would assume there's probably a lot of buildup. And these two areas, that area just did not burn. It's not that the fire went there and everything's grown back, it's just it didn't go there. And it hasn't had a chance to get back into this area. This area has not been retaken by nature. I'm trying really hard because I keep forgetting the videos that I have going up are not in order of what I know. I'm not going to spoil it anymore. Yosemite has natural burns. Yeah, exactly. There are areas of the US where not only are there natural burns that happen all the time because of varying factors, that actually if they didn't have it, the forest itself would die because the trees can't replant themselves. It's actually a natural phenomenon that's supposed to happen. Us interceding and saying, no, you can't burn it and get rid of undergrowth or other things like that, that's the reason why they've gotten out of hand and why people living in those areas are causing some of the issue. Not that the people are causing the issue, just it's an issue because people are there. I don't know if I said that right, but I would guess that this probably either started natural or not, but spread because this area was already dry. This probably was experiencing a drought. It's the only reason the fire could get this far. I mean, it had to have been experiencing some sort of drought. And then we do have a couple of lakes, so it's rained since then. The drought is broken. What is over here? Let's run over there and take a peek. Okay, so we've got the mountains. The mountains probably would have stopped some of the fire too. Like, depending on which way the wind was going. And see, like, these things right here, as soon as you step down there, this propane thing is going to explode. If places are no longer being maintained, I would expect a few fires probably happen because of this. But the good news is there's not going to be a fire from it spreading anywhere because nothing has had a chance to grow back yet. People issue got it, yeah. There's really no way to softly explain that some issues are caused by not men, I don't mean it that way, mankind going in places where they weren't before. Like, how much can you blame a grouping of animals, for instance, of protecting their area that they normally lived in, have lived in for generations or whatever, and people are suddenly there, and people are getting attacked. Whose fault is it? The animal or the person? And really, it's like, both? It's both, you know? So, in that way, people have to figure things out, and they just haven't figured it out. They're just like, no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault, and nothing's ever happened. So, yeah, this is probably a similar situation. In this area, this is probably a very thick forest, but also one that experiences frequent dry spells. And it burned. Though it's interesting, though, that their bushes didn't have a problem. Why didn't their bushes burn? Why do we not have burnt hedges? Fake? Do we have plastic hedges? I mean, some of these areas are starting to get their life back. Look, we got green grass. Just a little bit. Fiery farms. Okay. They were just owning that, right? A coal mine has been burning for years. Yeah, the place that Silent Hill was supposed to have been based on, wasn't that place like a coal mine or something like that? And there's fires that they found underground and that's constantly burning. That's the reason why they had to vacate the entire place. Centralia is pretty much gone. Only like 1 or 2 homes left, and they covered it graffiti highway with dirt. Where is that at? Serotonin plants bounce back after fires. Serotonin. Yes, the happy plants. Yeah, there are some plants that as long as like the fire is not too extreme, they bounce back pretty well, so maybe that's what these are. And it would make sense if this area experiences fires frequently that the people would have bought plants to put in their yard that can recover in case of a fire. It would also stand to reason that people would put in sprinkler systems to protect their houses whenever they had to flee. Does that mean time-wise? Obviously the fire happened around the same time where crap was hitting the fan, but did they get enough of a warning to evacuate? Not that every person would evacuate, because some people are just bonkers like that. They're like, no, 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 no. The fire will go around us. Obviously. But not every house got hit. Just fun. But a lot of them look pretty bad off, you know? They're just like pretty messed up, you know? Not everything looks burnt. Like maybe they left and came back after the fire was gone. I mean, those are new potatoes. But then again, hang on. Timetable mix up. Whenever they planted their taters, the fire swept through and killed off the green, there is a chance that the tater greens will come back. Because the bulb is still underneath the ground and still protected by the dirt. So this does not necessarily mean that someone came back and planted taters. Now, the fact that they actually have their soil here means something, and I can't actually say what I was supposed to say because you guys haven't seen today's video. But if they did a full harvest, or even if they didn't do a harvest, they could be last year's taters. I've had taters from previous years pop up in random places in my garden because I missed one, which is kind of cool. But that's not necessarily saying that this is 100% definitely been replanted. These cars also look pretty bad. This kind of looks like it's been deserted. What do you think?
Why don't you get hydrated?
How fast the wind was blowing? Yes. It's about 15 minutes from you. PA Central. What happened? The place burn? The nitrate survived? Yes. Of course, of course. Or maybe because of the burn, the nitrate was exposed? I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what nitrate looks like in its natural form. How fast the wind was blowing. Yeah, if the wind was going really, really good, they would have had a very hard time of actually combating it, but what happens if it was slow? Like, after the apocalypse? I mean, our zombies are burnt. So, if it was slow moving, but the zombies didn't know to leave, you know? That'd be kind of messed up. This actually kind of looks like this place has not been lived in since then. There's a couple of things that are iffy, like, they don't have burning tires. Tires can burn for a long damn time. I know, I accidentally set a field on fire one time and there were tires in there and it was an accident. Don't ever, ever leave a fire unattended. Even for 5 minutes. They also have their bathtub out here, which, I mean, maybe they had that. Honestly, as a gardener, if I had an outside shower, I would 100% use it. So I can't say that I don't understand this. I do. This just seems like someone who was living off the grid and may or may not have come back. The fact that that's not planted, potatoes don't necessarily need anyone's help being planted. I kind of feel like this place was deserted prior to. Let's move on to the next one. Spreading before the outbreak, and people in towns got told to evacuate before everyone could go home and the outbreak happened. It's a possibility that the fire was already going before the outbreak, or it happened somewhere between the flu outbreak and the zombie outbreak. Because I really feel like those are two different events. I don't think that they happened at exactly the same time. I would feel like this would be more devastation. Obviously, some places did or did not get hit very hard, or it might have died out before it got here and just slowly simmered and burnt things. It seems odd that that didn't go. And there is a burning barrel. Do we think that people are causing the burning barrels, or they're just... That has to be... Somebody did that. I mean, there's a dead dude right there, so somebody was here afterwards, even if they were just scavenging. What's down here? Why did it do that? I'm not supposed to put a period. I think it's because there's not a space after the period, so it thought you were trying to do a link. It's just weird like that sometimes. Okay, this is Tiny Town, USA. Is there something actually out there, or is that like dead zone? Just wondering if they're hiding anything over here behind the mountain, you know? Nope, an ocean. That's what they're hiding behind there. Okay. There were a lot of people that were asking whenever California was going through their wildfire why they weren't using the ocean water, and I was like, do you know what salt does to the planet? Well, like what salt would do if you just dumped a whole lot of salt on ground. Like, kill all of the plants. And as a matter of fact, that salt takes forever to get out of the soil. Not that everything burning down was preferable, it just wasn't a good solution. They would need to get the salt out of it. This is like a... This is not even a little town, this is like a stop. Mini little stop. What is this? Flu outbreak emergency services would have kept working, but during a zombie outbreak, the emergency services wouldn't work. Charles, how you doing? Well, that is... maybe... Maybe. Hold on. It keeps hiding my stuff and things. The flu outbreak could have been man-made to test the cure. Well, I think we almost have it... It's almost assured that somehow or another Higashi was responsible for the flu, and then subsequently responsible for the zombie outbreak. are these here? Typically, you're going to put like a large store or a large section of stores at least near a town. That town big enough? I mean, isn't that one of the hotels, maybe? Hang on, let's go. Some of the things that they put on this map just do not make sense to me. Okay, that's a farm. Which farm? Hirsch. Okay. Vacation spot. Why? See, this is the reason. This is the reason why I don't like this map. This is supposed to be the story map, but the way they have things set out, it's like they didn't actually plan it. It's like those folks that are in charge of city planning, and then they just like throw a quarter somewhere and vote yes or no, and they don't actually think about the impact of what they are putting and where they are putting it. That area makes no sense. There's no way that this one hotel in the middle of it, the corner of nowhere, and you got a purty mouth. This hotel is not going to be useful. What is it? This lake is really cool? If anything, okay, imagine this was a forest before all of the crap hit the fan. Huge forest. What is the draw of this place? Okay, it's a nice fancy hotel. But people typically vacation in areas where there's something to do. That's not a big enough lake, right? Oh, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you checking out my 70s lore stuff. Right now, we're actually going through Navezgane to see if we can't figure out something about the story world that we can't get by just looking at the POIs, which is kind of what we're working on right this second. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. Why these? Why out in the middle of nowhere? And why this? This is not a vacation spot. Okay, why do you create a hotel for a vacation spot? There is some sort of natural beauty that is happening somewhere that will attract people. Grand Canyon, big waterfall, a cave network that maybe people want to go look at. We've got one way north in Georgia. It's called Ruby Falls or something like that. And I don't see anything here natural-wise. Of course, some things have burned. Maybe there was a nice huge park here, and every remnant of it is gone. The only thing I see is that, and it's a western town. You think a western town would actually have so much draw that they could put up an entire hotel? Gambling? I don't know about that. Sadly, we don't have the casinos yet. And there's no, like, they haven't made, like, casino machines. So we don't have proof of that either. And as far as I know, there's nothing in here. Now, I have not gone through this building. This is one that I want to go through with the main series, but let's just take a quick peek in here and see if there's any evidence that maybe there's some gambling stuff going on. And there's an ATM. Why would you need an ATM down here unless you're going to spend money? You stuck the landing, dude. Okay. Someone else using the same operating system as every other freaking person in the world, including Jen, which is sus. I got some theories about Jen. I don't know, but I got theories. Anyway, yeah, I don't see any proof that there's any gambling. There are stores in here, like, maybe you could come in here and get your merch. And another reason, why else would you possibly build a huge hotel? Is if your hotel is between two areas where people might go. We have two areas where people might go. This is a farm. There's not any other houses over here. There's not a town over here. Okay, let's check out this other side. Obviously, we've got the western town, but unless for some reason or another, this world has got way more interest in the western lifestyle than our own, because, yeah, we have western towns, but I don't think that they have that much of a draw. They do have some draw, but enough to build an entire hotel and way over there a shopping district? I don't know, does that sound right? Money laundering? Maybe. Maybe the Duke came and took the machines for his big casino in his area. There's a possibility he did recompensate those, but if he did, there was still... I don't really see that, unless maybe it's indicating that off the map that we don't actually have, there's a large town over there. Unless it's supposed to be people from this town that we haven't actually looked at, because that looks like a lot of roads. Hang on. And it does connect here. And we're not going to pop over there because that's the desert. We're doing these in layers, as the game indicated we should. That's a pretty significant sized town, so... people from this town? Going where? Maybe that? What is this? Alright, hang on. Let's take a look at this map right here. I really wish you had a thing where you could turn off inside the settings. You wanted to turn off the fog of war, it'd be really nice. Okay, so... here's the hotel we're talking about. We've got this big town right here. We go up this road, and it goes to this town here. So maybe these two towns contributed to this one hotel being developed. Got this town, this, that draw. There's something else in this town that we don't know about yet. Let's keep moving on, I guess. One hotel. You would figure big hotel needs a couple of draws. Maybe. We're not seeing the whole picture. They've got this. Maybe somewhere out here. We don't actually have a road leading to any of them that I could tell. Maybe somewhere out here there was some sort of a natural park or something like that near this water. But it got burnt down, so maybe that? Maybe one of these towns are going to be earmarked for the casino? Obviously they don't have the casino in yet, so maybe this will have more story later on. This place right here is a question mark. I have to come back to that whenever they add in more stuff, yeah? Could be a brothel? Well, I mean, yeah, any of these could be a brothel. For all we know, it could be legalized in this world. I mean, there seem to be some sketchy things going on anyway. Why not? Okay. This place is new over here, right? Is this one of the new ones? We do have a mining company. I'm not going to say that the workers would have stayed at the hotel, but maybe investors stayed at the hotel? They wouldn't have built a hotel for the investors, but it could be where they're getting some of the people that are in there. You know, it's kind of disturbing. You know that place right there is definitely contaminating that water. Definitely. You are what, shipping? To Echo Trash Recycling Center, turning your trash into profit. I can word. Good grief. Okay, so they come in and they dump here. They dump the garbage. We don't actually have garbage trucks in the game at all, do we? Kind of weird, right? Corey, how you doing? What are we looking for hunting down? I've got a series on my main channel where we're talking about the lore of 7 Days, and one of the viewers suggested on one of my previous videos that we go to Navezgane, which is the story map, and see if we can't piece together things that are not just inside one POI, but because of the storyline that's supposed to exist on this particular map, that maybe we could find out some more information. So what we're doing is during the streams, we are slowly piecing together the entire map, and earmarking a few of the POIs for later deeper dives. So I can do another video off of those, but we have already done the Pine Forest, and now we're looking at the burned biome. Okay. So we do not have garbage trucks, but we definitely have a recycling facility. By the way, do you guys think that recycling is a yes thing or a no thing? I'm all for the concept of it, but we know certain things can't necessarily be recycled, and I did find out that our garbage people that, for those of you who don't know, I'm in Georgia, which is southern part of the United States. And the people who run our garbage inside our tiny little town are from Canada. Nothing against Canadians. But apparently we have a thing where they can come by and get like natural products, and they pick them up with the little grab thing, whatever you call that. They pick it up and they put it in their stuff, and they're supposed to take it and recycle it. And some towns, they do. They put it inside a thing, they turn it into compost, and they give it back to people to do whatever. Either the city uses it for hedges or, you know, whatever they want to do as far as... I don't know. What do they do with it? Landscaping? I would assume. I would assume a whole lot of landscaping for the city. Or you can, as a person, go and get some in some towns. These people, they do not do that. Regardless to what kind of garbage you have, it all goes to the recycling bin, even though they... Not the recycling bin, but the garbage can. Even though they say on their boxes that they recycle, it is a 100% lie. Found that out. You're Canadian? Hello. How you doing? We don't know how to adult things rules in 7 Days World, and that's a mini store in the hotel full of adult clothes. That is true, but that's not necessarily inclusive, because we don't necessarily have children zombies, which is what would exist, because the Fun Pimps don't want to put children into the game. We don't necessarily know if the problem is lore-wise, if they simply died. If we were to try and create a lore reason on why children zombies do not exist, it would be because either the flu originally, or the medicine that was created to combat the flu, at some point, one or the other, both, killed off children. It's also probably the reason why we don't have a whole lot of old people. So, I mean, it stands to reason, and we can come up with, even though we're just making it up, we can come up with a reason on why they don't exist. Now, as far as what people are doing in their spare time and whether or not prostitution is legalized, that's a different story. Would you say that Vegas has legalized prostitution? They got a lot of gambling. It does not necessarily mean it's legalized prostitution, though. I stayed at a motel in Alabama. It was in the middle of nothing, just like a Mexican restaurant off a house was missing look straight out of a horror movie. That's not surprising. The occasional random hotel in the middle of nowhere is not necessarily a big deal. A fancy hotel with a pool and all the fancy looking stuff that's inside that hotel is kind of the thing. It tells me that there was a... It's not just a roadside hotel with a cafe sitting there that people might run through every once in a great blue moon. That place takes upkeep. Running a pool takes a lot, all the lights. They get a lot of stuff going on, plus they had a gift shop. How many places have a gift shop that's just a random hotel on the road? Especially if they look like they were straight out of a horror movie. Because in the building, why are there plants growing in the trash piles? It makes sense if it's compost or torn from waste garbage. Well, you would be surprised where plants can grow. I can try really hard to keep a plant alive in my garden, and it will look pitiful and die on me. But in between the cracks of your sidewalk, you will have one weed that just lives in defiance of everything. That's just the weird way in which plants work. Okay, we'll come back to that one. There was something else. We were looking at that military base and trying to get an idea of what was going on. You assume POI placements were mostly random for the gameplay purposes? Well, most of the POIs... Well, let's change the way that we're going to say that. There is a randomization that can happen with randomized maps. Random world gen. Navezgane is supposed to be the story version, which means they hand place all of the POIs. And I would assume, not 100% sure, that each POI is placed there for a reason. We would have to assume We're taking a lot of liberties here and giving a whole lot of credit to the fun pimps that may not be due, but there has to be a reason why certain POIs are the way that they are and located in the directions that they are. Okay, we have got... which one is this one? I'm just seeing whether or not we can find anything. Ranger Station Echo. Okay. This place looks in disrepair. But they do have solar panels. A vehicle that didn't actually get burnt. What is this? Okay. Oldest? Second oldest. New. Why? City got new budget and they decided to upgrade their ranger station? What? Maybe? Where does this sit in accordance to everything else? Agashi flew, targeted children, killed them off, so humanity has no chance, no kids, no future. As long as people can still procreate, there's always a future. I would not put it past humanity to screw themselves back into popularity. But in order to do that, they have to be bored enough. Social media needs to die for people to procreate, because social media is allowing people to get that burst of socializing without actually having to socialize. You turn that off, people will start procreating again. In the apocalypse, I have a feeling people would find things to occupy themselves. Not to mention, we may talk about prostitution in this pre-apocalypse, but in a post-apocalyptic situation, sex is currency as well. That may not be a nice way to look at it, but historically that is how it's been. In a lot of cases, women who can't particularly do things for themselves have to find ways to... Well, how do I do this so it doesn't sound sexist and it doesn't sound disgusting, because it will come off as disgusting, but this is like something that is a historical fact and has been since the dawn of man. Women need protection of men. 100%, it is absolutely a necessity. How do you encourage a man to protect you? He needs you. How do you show yourself that you need to be needed? You are a productive individual, and you give them something that they like. That's it's either food or it's sex. In the post-apocalyptic, there's no social media giving them that. There's no social media protecting you. The men in your life are the ones who are protecting you from outside influence. I can't say that from the things that I've heard about the Duke and stuff like that, that they are going to be very nice to females. And in a post-apocalyptic situation, women are at risk. So the best thing as a woman you could do, if you can't fight, you have to be useful. And there are a few ways in which women are useful. That is an odd thing to say coming from a woman, but it is absolutely 100% true. If all else fails, there is at least one thing a woman can do. All these women, I can't cook. Well... it is what it is. Okay, seriously, why do we have a ranger station that looks like it's 3 stages away from disrepair and then an impromptu base? The only issue is it looks like the top area possibly got burnt down and then they did this. You know? This is infrastructure. Is there a chance that there used to actually be a base over the top of this and that base got burnt down, so they just put a temporary base over the top of it? What if the virus sterilizes everyone? Issue. You have to defend on whether or not your virus that you're talking about is the flu or the zombie virus. And here's why. I know you probably haven't watched all of my videos, but I have a running theory. The flu virus that is sweeping through the US that it talks about on the newspapers, it decimated the US in that it overwhelmed the healthcare industry, kind of the same way COVID did. 2 weeks to stop the spread or whatever. It wasn't necessarily that COVID was monumentally deadly. There were people who died, there were bad things that happened, and some people are still dealing with the consequences of what COVID was. But it wasn't as deadly as it would have been if everybody wound up in the hospital at the same time, and that's kind of what the flu caused. So, there was a medicine that was created for the flu virus. Hang on, I'll show you the picture of that. This was created to combat the flu virus. It was made by Higashi Pharmaceuticals. This does not say it protects you from being a zombie. It says it cures the flu, which tells me, and has told me for a long time, the zombie virus was not the same as the flu. The flu did not cause the zombie virus. My theory is whatever was in that medicine is what actually caused the zombie virus. So those are two different things. Now, whenever it comes to the typical flu or typical cold, people will contract whatever it is, fight through it, as bad as it might be, and develop an immunity to it. Even COVID had this. So if people went through the flu virus, and some people died, some people got really sick, the young and the elderly who were particularly susceptible, are probably the ones who overwhelmed the hospital facilities and needed the medicine. But they probably pushed the medicine to a lot of people as a miracle cure, and I think the people who took that medicine are the ones who turned into zombies, which is also the reason why our character, when our character dies, does not turn into a zombie, and why we do not see zombies that are carrying backpacks or sleeping bags or an AK over their shoulder or something like that. None of these zombies existed post-apocalyptic. Like, none of the people who died in the post-apocalyptic era turned into a zombie, which means the zombie virus stopped at some point, and I think it's because people stopped taking the medicine. So anybody who took that medicine, and some people opted out of the medicine, like, not everybody's going to take every single medicine. I did not have a single COVID shot. Some people would not have taken that medicine, and they never had to worry about it. Now, whether or not that medicine killed people and they turned into a zombie, or after they took the medicine, they eventually died of one reason or another and then became a zombie, is still up for debate. Or they moved the kids to a safe area? That's a possibility. There are some zombies that look young-ish, like the lady wearing the tank top. And the guy that used to be the spider, but he's not the spider anymore, he looks like a teenager to me. I'm not sure if we'd find him in here. Probably not. Most of these guys are probably military. Nope. That's a janitor. Worker. Yeah, they're not in here. There's a couple of them that kind of look high school, college age, but no children. So I don't think they would have evacuated all the children. And the only reason I say that is, how did the US and most every other place handle COVID? They put up plastic barriers and told everybody to wear masks, and then unironically pulled down their masks to have conversations and moved out from behind the plastic barriers to have conversations because nobody could understand each other. They went non-touch on all of the food, but the workers still had to touch the food. There was no way of doing it otherwise. It's just... the things that they implemented were like the most rudimentary and most idiotic things that you could possibly think of. Anybody who was still in the workforce during COVID knows what I'm talking about. Or if you went to a grocery store, it's like people standing right next to each other, but 6 feet away from the person in front of them, like the person next to them couldn't give it to them. Things like that. It was just like, if this was actually a deadly virus, humanity would be over. So I can't imagine this world was probably any better with their restrictions. I don't think that the children and the old people just somehow or another got away. I think that there was a huge mortality to the people who were susceptible to it. Whoops! I did not mean to do that, dude. I'm sorry. I just took that out. My bad. I should not even be holding this. Okay. Just found my channel? That's okay, it's okay. If you check out my main channel, I've got a playlist going that is the deep lore. It starts out with me talking about different types of zombies and why they do or don't work. I was disproving whether or not the blood moon was even a feasible thing. All kinds of stuff, and then I decided on 3.0, since we're supposed to be getting our bandits and our storyline in the next version, that I wanted to do a deep dive in some of the lore bits. So after that, we're doing larger lore chunks, checking out POIs, what those POIs tell us. You guys have a generator. You know what? This looks like post-apocalyptic. I feel like there's a force that came here and reclaimed this area. And then something happened and they all died. Which almost makes me feel like Zioxide didn't actually kill people. It just reanimated them after they died. Because whenever it comes to a lot of these immunizations and everything, they basically force the military to take it first. And there was a huge backlash of people who just like quit the military because they didn't want to take the COVID vaccines because they hadn't been properly tested, and they got released from the military. So the people who stayed in got those immunizations and the 5,000 boosters that came along with it, so maybe Zioxide was given to the military. And a couple of months after the area blew out, you know, like the winds finally seceded and the rain came and stuff like that and put this area out. A group of them showed up here to try and reclaim whatever was inside this facility for some reason. Maybe they just saw it as defensible? You know, like if they needed to, they could go back underground? Why would you come back here? I mean, there are facilities, there's a big generator, the guy hiding in the bathroom, servers? I don't... Why would you come back here? I mean, maybe just some of them knew that this little facility existed, so they had somewhere safe underground, and then they just erected all the tents and set it up. What do you guys think? Does this look post-apocalyptic instead of pre-apocalypse? It just doesn't scream pre-apocalypse to me. What would be first, zombies or Terminators? I'm weighing in on the Terminators. I really think the computer's going to be a problem. And the biggest tinfoil hat of them all. The new AI that is showing up on all of the computers. Because, don't want to spoil one of my videos, because in Higashi, a lot of what we would call janitor guys, but could actually be like tech guys or anything else like that. A lot of those guys were inside each one of the offices in Higashi, almost like they were tech guys working on the computers. I am theorizing that we're eventually going to find evidence that something happened with the computers because all of them have the same operating system. Different screensavers, same operating system, and that same operating system is also in Jen's base. I really think there's something sneaky going on there. I don't mean to be a conspiracy. I mean to be a conspiracy theorist. I definitely think that there's something going on with the computers. And the fact that Higashi had so many workers in every single office. Not computer workers, like tech workers. It looked like in every single office they had someone trying to figure out what was wrong with the PCs. I talk about that in that video. It was just really odd to see that. And that's the reason why I have the AI frozen, so I can see the types of zombies that are chosen to spawn in an area. It's very interesting. I've got a sneaking suspicion. Some people could have been forced to take the cure, I'm sure. And even if they weren't forced, like they didn't hold them down and insert the I would assume it's a tablet because they're showing tablets on there. But even though they weren't held down, but if there was like, I mean, we saw COVID. It was the weirdest thing to see, and I don't mean to... For anybody who took the COVID shot, I don't mean it to sound one way or the other. I'm not trying to push my position one way or the other on any of that. Eventually, news will come out, and we will know the full story of what happened during all of that. But one thing that I found very concerning is there were several displays of people being harassed in public for seemingly not conforming to this new way of life, not putting a mask on, not having the jab. I don't know how people were signaling to each other that they had the jab, but there was one lady that drugged somebody out of a wheelchair because they weren't conforming to this mask on everything that was going on. So in this, if people had, I don't know, if people had lost family, because from what I can tell, there was a large amount of people who died. If people lost family because of this flu and they saw other people not conforming to whatever it was that they were supposed to be doing, I can imagine there was probably a bit of backlash, and some people felt forced to, not because they were held down to, but because they felt like other people would look at them weird or they wouldn't be able to go back to work. There were some people, like in Canada, the truck drivers were not allowed to go back to work because they hadn't gotten injected or something like that. I can imagine this is probably what we saw during COVID. I can fully now imagine. It's hilarious because before COVID, I would never have thought that something like what's going on in 7 days would be legitimate, or something like a zombie virus could be legitimate. But after going through all of that and seeing all of the craziness, I actually see how this could happen. And shockingly and saddeningly, easily, I could easily see how that would be a problem. I don't see anything suspicious about that. I mean, I'm not seeing anything that looks really interesting, so I'm not stopping to look at them. Anytime I see something that makes sense or doesn't make sense or whatever, I'm stopping to take a peek at them. So far, I'm not seeing anything really lore-wise that's like the smoking gun in this area. Terminators will be first. I've got them ready, but subs to this Twitch are programmed as targets to keep them alive. The first model of Terminator has a chainsaw as a weapon, Brett. How you doing? How you feeling today? My question about the burn biome is that the fires were triggered by nuclear bombs. Why are there little to no craters? I don't think this area was triggered by that. We had that discussion at the very beginning, before we even started touring around. There are a lot of places in the US that have natural burn cycles, even some plants that have adapted evolutionary-wise to, like, the cone of the plant. I'm not sure what the name of those are. It's not spruces, it's something else. Anyway, the cone can only open to let the seeds out after it gets so hot. And those areas have developed where they're supposed to burn regularly in order to allow the cycle of plants. Now, because of human intervention, our ability to say, no, you can't burn in this area and do preventative burns and stuff like that, and also people moving into different zones where burns naturally happen, all of this causes problems. But it's kind of easy to see how at the very beginning, when things were going so crazy, how a burn in an area, especially that was dry, that was primed and ready to go because that's what normally happens and there were no people to stop it, this could easily have been a lightning strike. Or there's a lot of people who had either natural gas or propane. All it takes is someone's pipe just like vetting a whole bunch of gas and then someone striking a match or something like that. And before you know it, because it's so dry in this area, it just goes. And there's nobody here to put it out. As far as I know, the wasteland is the one where the actual bomb happened. Now, why there isn't an actual crater, I don't know. It does seem odd to me, though, that there isn't a crater POI created. It does seem like something that probably needs to be happening at some point to explain a bit, but not sure where you could put in a crater that's going to explain it away. It's another faraway big POI. What is that? Oh, vet's office. Okay. Vet's office being by itself does not strike me as weird. This strikes me as weird. A mausoleum in the middle of nowhere, but then again, if we think about it, I'm trying really hard to imagine this place as the forest it should be. I'm not going to step on the toes of today's video. If you guys want to watch today's video, I would definitely recommend it because it actually... I didn't fully explain everything in that video because I want people to think about the things that they heard in the video. Especially because it's much more fun speculating about things than trying to have some sort of definitive something or another and say, yes, categorically, this happened. But I think we are starting to narrow down when the actual apocalypse happened, May 2034, because of a image. Hang on, I'll show it to you. For those of you who haven't seen that video. Where are we at? Nope, that's different stuff. I'm working on another series, so I'm doing stuff that I can't talk about because it is for later. Anyway, we have this. 7 Days Sweets, you can go and find that POI yourself if you want to go take a peek at it, but 7 Days Sweets is actually saying May 2034 at 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, we already speculated that it was 2034 because there was a bowling alley that had this on there. And since they've done the science, they actually took it off of there. I talked about it in one of my videos. But now there's this, and if you go upstairs in the 7 Days Suites, that place looks packed out. Like they were actually in the middle of something when this was going on. So I'm speculating it's got to be in May sometime when it happened. Now, what we don't have any idea of is how long since the apocalypse that our character woke up completely naked because apparently we'd been robbed. That we don't actually have any knowledge of, though recent news came out, and I talked about it in that video, but I didn't speculate more on that because I'm going to be talking about it later in another video too. But this actually happened not that long ago. Months, couple of months, a few months, couple of years maybe, something like that is a possibility. So the fact that this place hasn't grown back is not surprising. It might take a few years for that to happen. Now this is, I guess you could call this a city. We've got a few houses. Still pretty far away. I mean, like really far away from that big hotel. What businesses do we have here? We have a radio place. The creamery. Plating. Something plating. Plating company. Okay. Well, that's specific. What are you doing here? That's suspicious. Well, that looks weird. Alright, so maybe this particular town, they had a creamery. A lot of people actually got employed by there, so a couple of houses got sprung up here. We also have a feed store. Now we got an ad that's visiting a startup, so I'll wait. Not every bomb is designed to hit the ground. That's true. What if Jen's actual last name is Higashi? Jen is suspect. Jen is very suspect in my opinion. Someone pointed that out in the comment section, and what if her actual name is Karen? I have no idea. The only thing that really makes me suspect is she's got a freaking computer right next to her with it on for no reason. Why would you have a computer on in the apocalypse? Who are you connecting with? What social media are you involved with? What is your AI overlord telling you to do? She's very suspect. Your head is hurt. It's been that way since Monday? Uh-oh. Have you been able to get in touch with a nurse to tell them about that? Is this like a new symptom or something like that that needs to be reported? They told us to get the shot or they would fire us, so we did, and they still fired us, and the ones that have been there for 20 years. See, that's not surprising. Krusty Booger, how you doing? That's not surprising. I have a feeling that if governments and the medical industry want to regain trust, they've got a long way to go with that one. I don't necessarily want to talk about it on the stream, but yeah, there's been some very sketchy things happening in the last couple of years, you know? So whenever it comes to this world, I'm automatically suspicious, especially when we've got Higashi with, let's see. And I'll show you one of the things that they're working on. DNA sequencing. It's odd, right? It's odd. I'm not going to step on the toes of the video that I did today that is going up at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means it is already up. There is some sketchy stuff going on, and Higashi's got their fingers in a lot of different places. And I'm not even sure that they ask anybody to turn their head and cough. Or ask for permission, for that matter. So, yeah, there's still going to be a whole lot of digging on that, you know? And since we just went through this whole thing with some real life, I guess, trauma that everybody is going to be carrying for the next 20 years, no matter what you do, automatically going to be suspicious of companies like that. There's no way around it. It's almost like 7 Days just kind of fits into that niche where you don't actually have to say, they did it, you're automatically suspect. I'm getting the impression the burned biome was a huge national forest before all of this. There are very few towns and a whole lot of scattered this, that's, and the others, but there's not a lot going on in this area. Obviously, we do have Jen.
Welcome to my store this fine evening. How can the best doctor in the wasteland assist you?
I love her degree. It was given to Will Tickle. Anyway, moving on. There's Jen, everybody. Looks like that one streamer. See, there's... all of the buildings here are really spread out.
Hey, buddy.
That's not really
You
saying
look
very
thirsty.
much because
Why don't you get
every
hydrated?
single bit of Navezgane feels really spread out. Jen is just doing her apocalyptic OnlyFans? Good lord. How much longer do you think it's going to be when they offer skins for Jen and the traders, you know? Obviously, Jen would be the one everybody wants the skin for. Nobody wants to see Rect in the bikini. I would probably stick him in a bikini, though. I'll be honest with you, I'd probably do it. Hybrid energy. Nothing looks suspicious. Did I look at that? I don't think I did. Hang on. Having lived in the desert that experiences occasional brush fires, the burn border looks weird to me. I think the issue is not necessarily that they don't want it to blend in better. I think that they just don't have the ability to blend it in together. Where music lives. Okay, so we got a radio station out here in the middle of nowhere again. If the game had an ability to run better, not going to get into that because I'm not going to be negative, but if they had the ability to run better, their border that they have right here would be a little bit lessened by a secondary biome that goes in between. but according to them, they have a texture issue, like they have a limited amount of textures they're allowed to have. I don't know who told them that they could only have so many textures. I don't know who imposed this on them, if they did that themselves, but apparently the reason why we have less biomes than we used to have is because they have a limited amount of textures. It's also the reason why they don't have in-ground farming. I don't know. I'm not a game developer, so I don't understand. This is weird. There's not a single regular vehicle here. Some of these speculations I'm making are also based on the randomization that has to do with just the natural game. There might actually be a chance that there's a random spot for a vehicle somewhere in this parking lot to show up just this particular time. I didn't see it. The reason I say that, there's like a purse there. There's obviously going to be zombies here. Yep, see there's one. Oh, this is the one that I think she's a teenager. I mean, she's wearing clothes like a teenager would. Now, obviously we've got that dude. Normal dude. Hole in the back here? Anybody back here? And she also looks rather young too. So, I don't know. Or it could just be the opposite. She's like the oldest of the women. I don't know. There's a lot of women that wear like muumuus and stuff like that. Maybe she represents them. And Karen's like the middle-aged woman. And then the other chick is the teenage woman. And... what would Thick be? He would be... middle-aged male? Possibly? I really think like the... where's he at? This guy right here actually represents businessmen particularly. I don't think the zombies are, this is this in particular zombie. I think they're archetypes for a type of person. So you could say, okay, this particular person is supposed to be in this area, or this type of person is supposed to be in this area. So we got a normal everyday dude just standing here. We've got business dude in the office. Where was the teen? Oh, that's a trash can. Okay, she's here. She's handling music. Or she is a cleaner. I don't know, but she's sitting behind this using meds. I don't know. Are these zombies here because they invaded the area, or were these the workers that died here? Oh, there's the dude. There's the dude. He looks like a teenager to me. You know, Tom Clark, that dude, he looks like a teenager to me. And then the, what is he like, Korean, or he's an Asian dude. He looks like he's like a, I don't know, college student? Perhaps. He looks like a college-age individual. So these, like, are archetypes of particular ones. So there's a teenager working the front desk, possibly. Making speculation here, obviously. Casual dude. Bring your kid to work day? It does look like a lot of bad stuff happened here, though. Broken headphones. Did these people work here before they died? And the only reason I ask that is because it's always interested me on the whole communication and when people knew what was happening. How bad did things get before people realized things were bad, you know? It's not blending. The road should be more of a barrier to fire spread, not completely block it, but fire tends to run along more than just spread across lines, yeah. It should work that way, but we'll see whether or not they finally fix that or do anything about that. Do you remember when snow in the forest or burning embers would fall and the snow would build up? I remember back when they used to have actual weather phenomenon in each of the biomes. I do remember that. And I didn't necessarily play that back then. I've watched like Noobs Gaming and stuff play then. I hadn't actually touched the game until the end of Alpha 17 is when I started playing the game. Okay. I don't know about this, but this really doesn't look like, my question is if those people were there when crap hit the fan. Ooh, what if? Let me speculate here. We looked inside, there's one businessman, and what looks like possibly a family that ran inside. So maybe the businessman was sitting in here and he was putting together finances, putting together information, maybe signing off for the last time, something like that. And then he was going to leave. But what? It does look like they maybe had some sort of outage and he sent for help. The electrician. Yet again, I'm back to that. It kind of looks like computers went down. Something big happened with the computer. The operating system that everybody was using went bad right as crap was hitting the fan. Do you think it would be like... This is speculation, because this isn't something that happened. Let's knock on wood that it never does. If there's a mass casualty event of some sort, whether it's nuclear bombs drop, or nuclear winter, or the poles shift, or something like that, do you think the government would come online and tell you about it, or they would knock down communications to keep people from talking about it? In this world, do we think that maybe instead of the operating system actually failing, that the government shut down communication and they were not informed, so a lot of people started bringing in their IT people and were like, hey, fix the problem. And they couldn't fix it because it was shut down at the source? Question mark? As usual, people seem to need me at the moment I start watching or doing something, but I put at the dentist again today, got referred to the hospital for more possible surgery on my tongue. My head still hurts and just not feeling well, and it's hot again? Oh no. Honestly, I hate the whole go to a doctor and they send you to another doctor thing. It's really frustrating. Yeah. You remember a mod way back when that would really increase animals' environmental survival? I don't know, but I think at this particular point, I think most folks would probably enjoy that aspect being enhanced. You know what? Let's earmark that. Can we gain enough proof through all of the biomes to say that either the operating system that everybody was operating on went out, intentionally or not, or somebody shut down communications? True survival had crazy amounts of animals. You are more likely to die from animals. Watch Skippy. I can tell you, what was it, Alpha 19? I think it was Alpha 19. They decided that they wanted to make the world survival a lot stronger, and they made hordes of animals running around. And I started out that one with the live stream and died to a pack of dogs. I distinctly remember that because then they did the updated version. The next iteration, they took down the number of animals that could spawn inside one of those hordes. Every time. Do it this way, then go back. Do it this way, and then go back. Every single time. I can tell you, that was the time whenever you spawn in and immediately look for a way to climb up on things. 100% of the time. Obviously, this happened when everything else burned down. Who knows? This could be where it started. Are you responsible, lady? Did you leave the oven on? Jeez, this could actually be how the fire started, something like that. And it may not have just been one, it could have been several that happened at one time. Okay, then we've got... public school. Is this new? I don't remember seeing this. Oh. Leave now. Okay. Well, now I'm just gonna be nosy. Yeah, I don't recognize this. This has gotta be a new one. Maybe not new with this version, but this is the first time I'm seeing it. I swear, there are times that I feel like there's structural damage where there probably shouldn't be structural damage. This looks like, I don't know, a few years worth of leaky water or something or another going on. Okay, open a door. Chemistry. Okay. Uh-oh. This looks like a fire. That looks like something just like broke through. I don't understand. Hang on, let's see. Open a door. Okay, if I was gonna say that there might be proof that there was an above-ground explosion, this seems to support that. That's a lot of structural damage for just time, you know, or even just fire. If a fire spread through here, most of the brickwork would be scorched, but it ultimately would be okay. Especially if it was quick moving. This looks more serious than that. This does look like an above-ground explosion. Huh. Also, since most of this down here doesn't even look touched. I mean, there's like a little bit here. But for the most part, like, there's a freaking ball on the ground, which you would assume would be rubber or something like that. It exploded above ground. Dead inside. Oh no, they used it again. I've always wondered, though, why isn't there more proof that there were, like, riots or something like that? If things were going really bad, why didn't people riot? I mean, it doesn't really take anything nowadays for people to riot. They don't have actual reason. They're not rioting for good purpose. So if you had good reason, why would you not take to the streets? Why is there no proof that it ever happened? Sad that there's no pet dogs, where there's proof that they experimented on the dogs, so I would assume that dogs somehow or another became infected by whatever it was Higashi did. Not to say that there couldn't be at least one breed or one set of animals that you could breed from that have some sort of immunity. It would be nice, though, if they had animals. Couple of cars. Missing posters? Missing posters. Lots of garbage. Was this in the bad side of town to start with? Possibility. I don't know, but that's a whole lot of damage to a building that does look like structural problems that could be caused by explosions. Further proof? And proof there. So there hasn't actually been proof anywhere that we have experienced. We went through the hotels, the couple of little towns, the western town. None of that actually showed any evidence of explosive damage. This town does. So, I mean, there's even like a hole right there, so a lot of the buildings. So, yeah, I would say maybe this area was hit. This is new? Or no? Pristine healthcare! It does not look pristine anymore. Not look like pristine anymore. The real struggle muggle, thank you so much for the follow!
They're here.
They're here! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. It does look like this place has been utilized before and after. And we got people trying to break into the building, and this is inside of where it broke down, so there were people here after. Cop car. Looks like someone actually ran into that pole. This looks almost like some serious crap happened right at the peak of the apocalypse. Can we prove that you had anything to do with, like, the initiation of it, though? I do want to go through a whole lot of, like, the medical buildings as a separate video just to see how each one dealt with the situation, but as a whole, what were you responsible for? Business dude? There's even holes inside the building. And this is actually considered a remnant. Early on? Later on? What are we talking about here? A nurse. You do not have that AI computer program going. Go up to the roof. So one person possibly died during, but there was enough people who came together afterwards and tried to exist on the roof. The whole damn building was falling apart. Why did they come up here? I mean, I guess you go where you think you need to go. They even had water supplies going on up here. This building was really not okay to be on top of, which is probably what got them killed. Real struggle muggle meds? Really? Meds. Yep. I won't say the entire burn biome was hit by that. It does look like there was a fire. Now, whether or not the fire started because of this air burst is a possibility. It may not just have been one fire, one air burst, or whatever. This looks like several different hits. That building looks decimated. This one looks decimated. I'm not sure how much of this damage could be done with one. That building looks decimated. There's actually a quarantine zone here, too. Maybe they were trying to take out the quarantine area. They utterly missed it. They really missed it. And hit all of the other buildings. Oh, dude. This terrain generation is disgusting. Okay. Bombshell? You know what? That's a little too on the nose, honestly. It's a little too on the nose. This place looks like it was targeted. Holy crap, dude. They took this building out. That's not an accident. That's intentional. Dude, let's chalk this up to another one of those tickers that goes inside of the government was trying to shut down the news. This is not a oops. They decimated that building. Holy. I mean, look at that. There's a quarantine zone right there. If they were aiming for people they thought were infected, that place is not touched. They took out the news station. They took out the news station, they took out part of a medical building, and they took out the school, which is disturbing, actually. Unless this cropped up after the explosions happened, which is entirely possible. Do we have proof one way or the other on whether or not this was after? Because, I mean, they have signage. That takes pre-planning, you know? Not after the apocalypse. Signage requires infrastructure because they have to get it printed up, you know? It could have been done by the group as they moved in after they silenced everybody? What do you think? You blame bad aim? It's a possibility. So you think they were aiming here and somehow or other got the news station? That seems mighty suspect. "7 days does diamonds?" Yeah, it is kind of weird. It really is. It's weird. It could be to gather the survivors to a camp and then study them. There could have been an intention to do something here. Obviously, we're going to go look at the other buildings to see if we can figure out why there was a concerned effort, because if you'll remember, whenever we were going through the pine forest, which we are going in order the way the fun pimps are telling us to go through as our exploration, we went through the pine forest first. There was rare evidence that anything significant happened. Like, there was no explosive damage, there was no riots, there were really no vehicles, there was nothing extreme other than the stuff that we found at the hospital. But for the most part, it looks like everyone evacuated. Like 9 out of 10 people probably just left for some reason. This town? This town was bombed. Maybe not nuked, specifically, but bombed. Be right back. I'm gonna go grab me some more drink, okay? Everybody grab you a drink and grab you a snack, okay? I shall return. Kidoki. I'm wondering if this is because this area right here was so close to the wasteland. With the way this map is going, we still haven't gone north to the snow area to find out what happened up there. Because of the level of progression, but it should be interesting to see what happened. I want to find out where the people from the Pine Forest evacuated to. Maybe they came here? And they were overwhelmed? Navezgane County. What is this? Mayor's office? Interesting. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. They were using the same operating system. It seems like every single business across every single thing. Is that a normal picture? I don't remember seeing that before. Every single business was using that. the mayor? I don't think you're the mayor, my dude. What you doing here? Why is there a bed on your desk? Ah, this place was occupied afterwards. Okay. I really think it has to be that whoever took the Zoxide, whatever it was, I really think they had to die of whatever was going to kill them. Natural causes, other zombies. I don't think it actively killed people. I think everybody was just like going about their day and doing normal things, thinking that they were okay and that this was like something that will never happen to them, obviously. Mayor. They bombed the mayor? Okay. That seems extreme, right? The frick is this dude? Am I the only one confused by this? Why would you do this? This isn't a bomb, this is destruction. They were working on it and just left the facade of a building here that could easily fall on somebody. This is not OSHA approved. This is dumb. Look, yes. This right here is gonna hold up that entire brick building. Obviously. Whose construction company is doing this? You guys are fired. "100% fired. Never hiring them for anything ever again. Not gonna happen." Logical idea is that riots caused the damage along with possible air bursts? Could be that there was actually riots here, but... holy crap. Like, there are facades of buildings without the full footprint. Like this, there's... it looks like there's supposed to be a full building here, but there's only a tiny section here, too. This doesn't even look like the remnants of a building. I wonder if this town was falling apart before. I mean, it kind of looks like it was. Big city. I put the wrong person in charge. Funds weren't being utilized right. Something like that, which might indicate why it got so bad here, is because if they were running a city like this, there's no way they handled a zompocalypse well. This just looks crazy. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't look like a bombing. This looks like buildings that had fallen apart over time and just had not been fixed. That still looks gross. Not sure if they have an actual team that's responsible for Navezgane, but I think they need a little bit more work. I feel like these are the remnants of buildings. That's the construction company's food tent. Kaboom crew, master switch control. Oh, they were going to explode it. Oh. Kaboom crew demolitions.dem. Okay. This is a demolition crew. Well, they suck at their job. I'm just saying you probably would not put an explosive there. Their explosives are supposed to condense it down? Is that what they were doing? Someone should attempt to rebuild all the buildings. That crazy video would be a restoration project. There's probably at least a few people who have tried it. I know some folks have rebuilt, like, the town up there in the green area. I've already forgotten which town that one was, but that town, they rebuilt all the buildings. The Twin Towers fell due to fire rather than impact. It's the burn biome. Everything could have fallen apart during the fire. Well, this tells me Some of this was not during that. Speculation. Okay. Crap hit the fan. The flu was happening. Hagashi came up with their cure. The cure went out, and people got some sort of relief afterwards before the first body dropped and then rose again. Is there a chance that some of this demolition was early stages and some of this was just poor project planning? And some of it is societal decay. Like, they were really angry that the place was falling apart. Their high school over there was being messed up. Their healthcare was all messed up. And dude just, like, simply blew up the mayor's office. It's not like they would be very hard to find the explosives. They got something right next door. And then they took out the newsroom? Could this have been the public instead of the military? I asked whether or not there was any evidence of rioting. Could this be evidence of societal decay and rampant craziness that happened during the fall? I don't know. I'm still inclined to think that this was like big explosives. Not just people running around with explosives tearing apart things. This is the Fire District 3? Apartments. Oh, that's the fire department. Okay. I mean, even the fire department looks in disrepair. Like, this whole town looks in disrepair. And it looks like people came back or were still here after whatever explosions were happening because they tried to take over certain areas and survive. What if some of the damage was the demolition crew fighting off zombies? That could be interesting. We got a whole crew of demo guys and they're like, suddenly zombies are everywhere and they try to demo them out the buildings. It's a possibility. I mean, yeah, this town was surrounded by fire, more or less, but these roads should have stopped it. These are like the biggest roads we have seen in this. They should have stopped it. Hell, if this town was operational, they would have saved the town. Even if they couldn't go out and save the forest, this fire department should have saved the town, right? They were dealing with bodies. There's even rebuild materials out here. Like, even this area was falling apart, but they got money finally to try to fix some of it. Bathrooms. See, these areas don't look bad. It's like this was working. There's structural damage, but this place was operational. Sucks that we don't actually have firefighter zombies. So, if you're a group of firefighters, and you were in a town... Oh, that's what exploded. And you're in a town, and there is an oncoming fire. It does not matter how bad everything is in town, what's going on in town, you stop what you're doing to put the fire out before it reaches town, right? There's 2 trucks there. Yeah, the trucks are still in here. Riots, bombs, societal decay. I don't know, guys. Is there a police station here? Somewhere? Blaze and Burns offices, they really do just name them appropriately, don't they? This is Bombshell News. A Shamway, which is already suspect. Electrobox, so we've got TV and auto. We've got Downtown Bowling. you not have a police station? Nice parking! Okay, no police station we can go off of. It almost feels like this town was already in disrepair long before the apocalypse happened. Which means bad governance. Hell, it doesn't even look like the fire department got out to do anything. They were never sent where they needed to go. And they just bombed everything? Guys, how does this make sense? Okay, fire in every direction, yes. If you are officially here and you are a firefighter and there's a fire heading for your town, why wouldn't you go put the fire out? What would stop you? Because it doesn't look like any of them even left. It's like they had already taken it and they were zombified, so there was no chance for them to respond? Police station could be one of the vaporized buildings? Yeah, it could. Even though these vaporized buildings don't really look right? No, what is that? I didn't even look over there. There's a chance for like a police station to be on the outskirts or something. Is this a bar? Looks like a bar. The convenience store. What about that? Gas company. Nope. So it could have been any of these vacant spots? And yet there was a response here. Out of all of these buildings, there was a response here, so this place burned before crap hit the fan. And apparently, whatever happened here was significant enough that they didn't even get a chance to go back. Boob. I think maybe this is like what initialized the whole things went bad first zombies showed up. Because if they put this out and... if they put this out and everything was okay, they would have driven the truck and stuff back. So whoever these people were, they apparently died in here. So if the medicine is not what kills you, but death does, then maybe that's where this happened, and... does this help at all? It doesn't look like any other places actually got help. So this possibly in this town, this is where shit hit the fan? What do you think? Navezgane police station should be in the wasteland, but there's several towns though. I mean, if they have like... it's kind of hard to imagine that this is just one town. It's so spread out. I mean, there's a high school here, there's a bookstore here, there's a doctor's office here, there should be at least like a small sheriff's office or something. Hey, why on earth would you make this kind of parking if you don't have a lot of people in this area? Which should be, there should be a police station around here, yeah? Maybe there weren't enough firefighters alive to use the other trucks? Yeah. So whatever happened in this town, the infrastructure failed before whatever happened. Like, they initially did get involved, but things escalated after this. Okay, so this town is starting to make a little bit more sense. I'm gonna say this probably wasn't a well-off town to begin with, because it does look like they were tearing down a whole bunch of stuff, but there was a response. And then things quickly escalated, and then it looks like it was bombed. And maybe after it was bombed? I don't know. Could you even say that after it was bombed is when this happened? Because... why would they set this up at all? Things escalated so fast that even the firefighters couldn't get together and do things. Why is this a thing? They have a hospital. So they had to have made the hospital inoperable for this to even need to be a thing. I'm still arriving back to where it seems like they took out the infrastructure on purpose. Like, they weren't actually aiming to kill everybody here or even kill all of the zombies. It's like they were trying to shut the town down and then brought in their resources. Now, they obviously didn't get very far, but... okay. Let me see if I can actually piece this together. We have first response. Shit hit the fan. Bombs dropped. They took out the hospital, they took out the news station, and they took out the mayor. For some reason or another, managed to miss the entire building full of explosives. And the bookstore. Then, some group came in and set up a quarantine area for people who had lived. That makes sense? Maybe? Possibly? Their aim sucks on a couple of these buildings. I don't think that they intentionally took out the school unless people were already hanging out on the top or whatever and they took out the hospital. I'm not sure if that was intentional. Of course, then again, if there's going to be a zombie outbreak, the hospital is the worst place you could go to because that's where they're going to show up first. So maybe that was intentional. Guys, if there's an apocalypse, the safest place to go is the bookstore. They won't bomb it. That's what that tells me. Well. So, what do you think? Built up instead of outwards could be a corporate town? Okay, if there were a corporate town, what was the business that they were bringing in? Dissect a little bit of this. That does seem like a hugely big bookstore for such a small, spread out town, but that's most of the towns in there. For some reason, they're like allergic to large towns. I guess because they don't want to overuse POIs. This is an individual POI. I have an unnecessarily huge urge to slide down that. Anyway, it could be that they were revitalizing the entire town. Maybe they recently got new funding or something like that, because this is a big project and there's a lot of broken down towns, but there's also some towns that just look like, well... okay, now that's confusing. Wait. This looks like they were actually attempting to do repairs afterwards, unless this is like the people who were cleaning the windows. I don't necessarily want to go through the bookstore right now because the bookstore is one of the ones that I want to go through for the series, so... just looking at it from the outside, I guess maybe these were window cleaners. And then obviously somebody took up residence in there. So yeah, there were definitely people after the apocalypse. They were on top of the hospital, they were inside this building, obviously there were probably some inside of there. There were people on top of here, so even after they bombed the place, do you reckon as many people actually survived the bombing, do you think they got warning? Like air raid sirens or something like that? People knew some stuff was going on, so they hid in their basements or something? I don't know, if you found out your government was going to bomb your town, there might be some reaction, right? It literally says it on top of the roof, yeah, so this is another building where people are holed up. After the bombing, most likely, otherwise... I mean, yeah, it does look like they've got damage. And, I mean, they brought supplies up here, they put in bags. They held up here for a little while, so maybe between when the bombs dropped and when these guys moved in, there was a period of time, at least, what? How long would it take for you to put up sandbags? Week? 2 weeks? And then this over here, let's see what kind of resources they managed to get together. Well, they put up tarps, probably to collect water. Water catchment. Tarps. So they were up here long enough to worry about sun damage. They did find some tents. They had a fire up here. They had a couple of generators. And it does look like they were trying to do something, like maybe make the place safer. They've got a saw here. Maybe they were the ones putting in... Where was it? Yeah, they had ladders and stuff. They were trying to get their way back inside the building and make it safer to get in and out of. This is... That's a little bit more than 2 weeks worth of work, right? Maybe a month? So... First response, crap hits the fan. Government bombs the place when things really get bad. They take out the radio station, they take out the mayor. And then about a month later, they bring in this and people who have already started trying to survive off of what was left. They put out signs hoping to be picked up, so maybe the airdrops were doing that because these people were still alive? People were putting out signs, they were collecting the materials, trying to survive where they were at. Now this place looks like it was a little bit hit too. Question. Zorny? Are you sure about that? Hi, Frank. Just looking to see whether or not they have that AI on their stuff here. Yep, they do. AI core. It's weird, we keep saying that, but we don't have that company in our list of companies yet. This advertisement is for that radio station that's actually in this biome. Yeah, and there's a lot of signs about missing people. I feel like they bombed the place or something like that, and then people were left here. There was a lot of people still left in this town, even after the bombing somehow or another. They were putting up papers and stuff, or do we think that the missings are from before the apocalypse? Wouldn't be the first time a town took off with some people and didn't tell anybody. Where would be the best possible place to find a whole grouping of people that nobody is going to miss? A broken down town that is in disrepair, ran by an inept governor. Guys, we might have found the source of where all the people were experimented on. A lot of speculation with this one. This is a weird town. I kind of like this. There's a lot of layers to this story. It feels like this place was decimated beforehand and then was only made worse. That's what it feels like. Where did everybody live? That is a mighty good question. This does not feel like a town where a whole lot of folks live. There are some apartments here, like that one's an apartment. Wasn't this one an apartment too? Yeah, these are apartments. That's an office. This is an apartment. Yeah, apartment. So, there's like 2 sets of apartments? Yeah. 2 sets of apartments. And... I mean, there's like a couple of places out there in the wasteland, but honestly, sadly, Navezgane is not hugely populated. Their goal is to not reuse assets in this particular map. They're putting them where they belong, so residences are not usually one that they do a whole lot of updating to. But yeah, it seems like a whole lot of them, and who knows, there might be other businesses, like that one in particular, that might have had upstairs apartments. I don't think so, because we don't see any evidence of that. Yeah, I'm just seeing desks. What about this one? Just desks. That one's a business. That one's not gonna have anything upstairs. Last time I checked in there, there was not. And obviously, whatever this is... Was this an apartment? Can we prove that this was an apartment? It looks more like an office. I don't know. I don't know about this one. I mean, it could be. There's enough to it, but of course it's been falling apart for a long time, and that's the reason why they're going to demo it. But maybe originally this was an apartment?
Thirsty. Why don't you get hydrated?
Thank you, thank you. Maybe each apartment building had a family of 2 in it? It's a possibility. I mean, those 2 buildings, and this one too. I mean, this says it's abandoned, so I feel like this entire town was, like, in the process of falling apart prior to the apocalypse, and they were slowly starting to rebuild. That right there looks like new business coming in, you know? And then back behind it, like maybe over here, saw some investment in real estate. So we've got the bowling alley, we've got this gas station, that... I don't know, prior to the explosion, that was probably a nice building. This one too. Shamway kinda looks really bad, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if this place was being used very much. Was this a defunct factory? Who knows? Shamway might have been the original business that brought them here, and then Shamway left to another business because they, of course, have a secondary business that they're working on. I won't talk about, we'll explore that stuff later, but... Was this place still operational? There's plenty of places that, like, a big business will bring in a whole bunch of folks to move into a town, and then the business leaves and the town dries up. I mean... yeah, it really doesn't look like it was in use. There's like one truck here, but this could easily just not have been in use, so... Any one of these businesses might have been what brought people here, it dried up, moved on because they did make another big factory, so... Some of the people might have left. And then they brought in Crack-a-Book, and then they've got this, you know, I mean, obviously if the town's in disrepair, they probably got this real estate pretty cheap. Businesses started coming back in and they started tearing down the old buildings. New management, possibly. New mayor, possibly. It does seem like it was not in great shape, but might have been on the way back up. Is there any evidence, too? There's also a trailer park not far from here. There's a lot of trailers out there, yeah. Let me see. Where's the closest one? Okay, we got a grouping of houses here. These kind of look like off-the-grid houses, honestly. But... oh, I have not seen these. Hang on. Oh, really? Their new slainage? It's probably the same vibe, though. The burning house. Ears. This just seems like an odd town. This... If a town is employing a whole bunch of people and then suddenly it dries up, the people are probably, if they can't afford to move, they're going to be kind of stuck there. We also have this town, which also does not look good. Some of this is going to be damaged from the fire itself, and some of this seems pre-apocalypse. These are wooden houses. They just burnt down during the fire. It's not really a surprise, but is this explosion? Maybe? There's wonky towns like this in Alberta. They're small, but a majority of the residents are outside of the town itself. Well, truth be told, in my town, most of the people here work outside of our town. There's not actually good industry in our town at all. 90% of people commute like 45 minutes away. When I was working outside of town, my job was 45 minutes on a good day. And I would have to leave well before the lights came on and well after the lights went off. And that's like a majority of the people here. Some would go like 2 hours away to find a job. So it wouldn't really surprise me if that's the case, like if there's big towns with businesses that bring people in. But the factories are probably a place where a whole lot of people would drive to. Is that the one I was thinking of? No, that's the one I looked at. It wouldn't surprise me if a whole lot of people... No, we can't look here. We're not going to the snow biome yet. Oh, I did not mean to break that. It wouldn't surprise me if most people commuted in. But is there enough business here to support commuters? And is there enough houses to say that there were commuters? I mean, yeah, there are a lot of little towns. I mean, not little towns, but little houses out in the middle of the boonies. There's a couple of trailer parks. What is this? Is this the burned out shack? And the burned out place? I expected more of them to look like this. In this whole biome, all of the trailer parks, I fully expected them to look like this. Radio outpost. So this is post-apocalypse. What about this? To me, this looks like a couple of small groupings of houses and stuff like that, surrounded by a whole bunch of forts and a whole bunch of people that ran into town to work. I mean, they even have a vet's clinic out here, meaning a lot of these people probably had animals. Otherwise, why would you have a vet clinic out here unless you could sustain traveling around to all of them? Most of these people probably had animals. What is this? Billy Bootlegger. Ah, bootlegger's cabin, you say? Alright, makes sense. Dried out waterbed. Popping pills out here in the middle of no damn where. Some of these buildings just don't make sense for the area. This makes sense in a town, it does not make sense out there. There are smaller poppin' pills that would fit in those locations. No! My goodness, let me hit all of the buttons, please. Okay, this is the one I was just looking at. The poppin' pills. That was just a gas station, right? Or a truck stop area? See, when they say Navezgane is like one town, this feels like several states. Like, this is the vast emptiness of middle America is what this feels like, not one county. Not saying that one county can't have this much space in between, but like usually one county doesn't have so many small pockets through all of it. It's like a few communities and stuff like that. This just feels like state. A really not overly populated state. Yeah, see, there's plenty of houses out here. People driving into town. There is a mining thing, which probably does bring in a whole lot of jobs for this area. How many people you reckon have to work here to run that? And depending on how much automation, there's a recycling facility. That takes a lot of people, too. It's like Dollar General in some random field. That's true. That is true. I don't know what bug crawled up Dollar General's behind during that year where they expanded every 500 yards from each other. Holy crap, they really did just put themselves everywhere, didn't they? At the time, we lived out in the boonies. It was like a 30-minute drive to come to town every single trip, and then a Dollar General just plopped themselves way out in the middle of nowhere. It was crazy. Still never understood why they did it, but it was probably a good idea. There's a lot of people who just started shopping there, even though it was more expensive, they saved on gas. Okay, this is hybrid energy. This probably employs a lot of people, right? I mean, it's going to employ less people now, but I mean, it's fine. Dude, that scared me. Okay. We got a truck driver. You know, someone picking things up. Obviously, there's going to be a few people doing that, but who knows? Maybe they're owner-operators or something like that, so we shouldn't count them as the people who work here. We've got... Good heavens. This probably employs a lot of people. Do they have barracks here? I doubt it, right? There's no way that they put barracks here. This is just all factory, right? I did not do that. Yeah, it's just all factory. This is... Easily, this place employs like 50 to 100 people, right? It'd make more sense if there was a gas station located. Yeah. A gas station, a hotel, anything near it to suggest why it's out there in the middle of nowhere. So, between that town, that hotel, it just doesn't seem like there's enough people in this area. Obviously, even if you have like 2 or adults per household somehow or another, say you've got adult children living in the home, because God forbid the economy make any sense. Assuming that was the case, I still don't feel like there's enough people here. Now, maybe if people in this other town drove down here for work. There's a lot of houses up there. There's like one business. One serious business. It's the hospital. A couple of like fast food restaurants and stuff. So yeah, they'd have to pull from other towns. Not just this. There it is. There it is. Right there. That's the one I was looking for. It's all the way over here. So we got a whole trailer park full of folks. Plus that little town over there, so... I mean... This wouldn't even take care of just the mine. Much less the recycling center and the other town. And the odd and ends like mom and pop shops that are over here, those shops over there are probably run by the people in that house. And there's a house and there's a farm, and they are probably all in the same family. And then just random couple of stores that don't make sense. A hotel that really doesn't make any sense. This does not make sense. Frozen mustard, you say? Mustard? There's a car shop out in the middle of nowhere, there's a Shamway Foods out in the middle of nowhere, and apparently a very large restaurant. It looks like they have a lot of seating. Looks pretty nice. Nobody even close to these businesses. This we showed at the very beginning. This area does not make sense, whereas that town over there, I can come up with 5 or 6 theories on why it exists, how it could potentially exist, who might support it. Hell, even the management, whenever it comes to like the mayor's office on, it's probably run poorly. And hell, I mean, even this town over here, there's plenty of people who like Western stuff and things, and Okay, we got a mining company, and hell, you know, some people will stay at a hotel for jobs like this. There's gypsy crews that run around and do jobs to different areas, so I can kind of understand that, maybe. This does not make sense. It's a grocery store and a car place in the middle of no damn where. If anything, this one is the one that says Dollar General to me. Like, it's just cropped up in the middle of nowhere, and these guys put their businesses right next to it because that one's here. That's it. That's all. They didn't have any other reason. Maybe cheap property or something like that, but these also look really nice, like they didn't even get touched by fire. Not even a little bit. And we could say military zombies are just private security. They could be private security. They could be like mall cop versions. Just because we have a cop doesn't mean that we can't also use them in place of that. Just local security for a business, like just keeping track of like groundskeepers or something like that. They could also take that form. You know, they did the same thing in the Pine Forest. They were just random businesses that didn't quite make sense. These don't make sense. They did board up the windows. And there's a little bit of damage on this one. You reckon this car dealership was just out in the middle of nowhere by itself and then they showed up? Why would you risk putting your restaurant or your... or your grocery store here? I mean, like, literally, the people that worked inside all of these businesses could just stand in the middle of the road and go, I wonder if anybody's gonna drive down here today. They could probably just sit here and drink sodas and smoke their cigarettes next to each other during their breaks and just have a discussion. You know? They may not have an environmental designer. That's true. That's very true. In which case, this setting right here makes no sense. Or they do have a plan for this area, they just haven't implemented it yet. This is still an ongoing project. But I have to analyze it the way it is right now. And maybe by pointing out that this particular section or that particular section doesn't make any sense, maybe people will be like, you know what, now that you point that out, it really does not. Let me fix that. It's like, hold on, wait. I already have plans for that. Stop judging. Don't look at it, it's not done. It's fine. These little places like this actually make sense to me more than that over there does. I know of a lot of people who get together and they have like little places like this, or somebody will landlord a couple of places, especially when you can close your eyes and imagine the fact that this used to be a forest, and this is just a random group of trailers that are sitting here that could be RVs. Some of them do look like RVs. And trailers next to a river, that makes sense. Those, they don't make sense. That town over there, that makes sense. That place we hit at the beginning, does not make sense. So, after looking at all of that, I still think these guys repopulated this because they knew it was underground, though it does not make sense to me. It doesn't seem like it was valuable enough to come over here and do that, unless there was just like they had nothing else. You're wondering what I'm talking about, you weren't here at the beginning. There is an underground section. And yeah, there does seem to be some stuff and things. Maybe there was a hydroponics here and they stayed here because of it. But this is obviously post-apocalyptic. Like, after everything hit the fan, this group of people decided to come back here specifically and rebuild above ground. They had to have known that bunker existed and came here because of it, and set up a post over the top of it. So maybe at least one person from that group worked in that bunker or something. The farms do not surprise me, especially since they do have a vet over here. Yeah. After doing all of that, looking through all of this section, I'm still gonna say I'm gonna go with my original thought, is this wasn't all bomb. That town over there looked bomb, but the rest of this does not look bomb. This looks like fire damage. Like a fire that got way too far, way too fast. Possibly started because of that. Or started because of 5,000 different bombs. Because of buildings. Oh, this one looks like it actually got attention. Which is kind of crazy. This is the crackhead's house. He was trying to make some meth and things didn't go well. Dadgummit, dude, we've told you to stop. But seriously, this was obviously ahead of time, and a firefighter was here. I don't think this is the burning trigger? The trigger. Pretty sure they put that out, but that happened ahead of time. What do you guys think? What do you think? The lore stuff is kind of my weak point with game design? Yeah. I like theorizing, looking at the environment and seeing what the environment tells us about what happened. In some cases, the way I see what happened might be different from what other people see happened, but my main goal is not necessarily to find out, since the apocalypse, what happened. Like, I don't want to theorize who took over residence inside this building after the apocalypse. Anybody, everybody, all of the people could be there for all we know. Any number of zombies could have walked onto this place after the apocalypse. That's not necessarily the story. The story that I want is what happened to these people right up until the apocalypse. Were they involved? Did they know anything about it? Were they evacuated? All that kind of stuff. All of those stories I find highly interesting to speculate on. And hopefully, eventually, more often, we'll see more story bits put into it, and especially where Navezgane is considered, because Navezgane is supposed to be our story area. Hopefully they will actually consider the story that they are building with the town itself, not just Noah, not just the Duke, not just the traders, not just what happened afterwards, but what happened before. Depends on how long it's been there. That's true. You 100% blame the crackhead for the fire. I do. They were making meth and the place exploded. That is definitely the crackhead's fault. You criticize by default because you're a game designer? Nice. They only started building them at the travel location after cars became owned by a majority of citizens. I don't think the world is that far in the past. According to the time period we have right now, it's 2034 when the apocalypse happens. I mean, they have cars, they have flat screen TVs, they have AI operating systems on their computers. I don't think their technology is way different than ours. Just because we don't actually see phones doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't have communication. I think they just haven't included phones in it. They obviously had radio and they had operating systems. Maybe people just didn't use phones. Seems kind of like an odd choice, but I just don't think they've included them because they didn't think it was necessary. The small item. I don't think they're regressive in their history that they don't have cars. I don't think it's a new thing. Yeah, there's a billboard advertising mobile phones. They just don't have them as an object they put in the world. Yeah. And it has got... MC7D2D dual front-facing camera technology, 1 terabyte of memory, and more stuff. Discover it. I'm not sure if this is their first ever phone, but it seems odd that they went for the 1 terabyte memory on their first ever phone. So I'm gonna say, yeah, they probably have it. It's just not an asset in the game because it's such a tiny asset. I don't think it's a brand new thing. Otherwise, how on earth did they get 1 terabyte of memory in their very first phone? And by the way, I did check the date on here. If everything bad happened in 2034, like we think, this day actually does fall on a Friday. It's an iPhone, yeah. Called My Cell. So, yeah, that's a lot of memory for, you know, before we could speculate where technology stopped with this world, as far as date and time and everything else like that, but I don't think cars are where the problem was. I think the reason why we can't use any of the cars is because the explosives knocked out the ability to use those vehicles, and or they run on fuel that no longer is usable. And the vehicles we are making are not run on gas so much as biodiesel. That would be my thought. And there are communication towers that look like cell towers, yeah. I mean, they have satellites, you know? They have actual satellites. They have radio towers. They have flat screen TVs. They've got operating systems that boast AI. I don't think that this might be a boondunk town or a, what would you call that? A banjo playing town, if you want to say that. Some parts of it anyway. Maybe this is not a big county as far as the rest of the place. Obviously, we're not going to go here and find... what would be... Well, I mean, like my town. My town is very small. Most of us work outside of this town. If you want to see a big town, you got to go to Atlanta. This is like a tiny, tiny town. So we're not going to see a whole lot of innovation, a whole lot of crazy stuff here. It's just people going back and forth to their job. Or was just people going back and forth to their job. So, yeah. Anybody else think of anything else? And unlike the thing that we found over there with the hospital where it looks like 2 POIs might have worked off of each other, I haven't seen anything like that in here. I'm not sure that I see anything here either. Unless we want to speculate on what they were actually aiming at with their bombs and what they actually hit. It does seem odd that they hit the news station. But that could have actually been intentional. They might have intentionally took out that thing right there. It's either that or they were aiming for this or this. Which was... what is this? The electric company? Why would they intentionally aim for the electric company? Or, I mean, they could have been aiming for... They could have been aiming for the apartments. If this place was infested? Maybe? I don't really think so. I mean, they hit this one pretty good. It looks like they got that. Looks like they got the side of that. They got the road a couple of times, so their aim was not 100%. They could have been aiming for something else instead of that. Out of all the things they hit, they didn't hit the one building that was supposed to be exploded. Yeah, I don't actually see anything other than maybe... Well, I mean, actually it does. I didn't even see that. It does look like the apartments were hit. If they were trying to take out biological material, they did not do a very thorough job. That's all I'm gonna say. It was not a very thorough job, the stuff that they used. I'm not even sure that they were actually aiming for zombies. It seems like they were trying to take out specific buildings. And I'm just gonna say it, it looks like the mayor and the news station. I'm not sure what kind of shit stirring they were doing to piss off the people in charge. Maybe they were calling out, maybe they were telling the wider world about what was going on in their area with all the people that had gone missing, and they were like, we can't have you do that, and they exploded it. So, maybe. There are big cities in 7 days? Not in Navezgane, not really. There are a few block towns in Navezgane. If you play on a random world gen, which is not the story map, Navezgane world is not big towns. Maybe where some of the older buildings were meant to be destroyed and they used explosives and put them in the streets to break up a horde? I don't know. Maybe. These could have been accidents. These could have been homemade bombs for all we know. And it does... This town does not look good. It does not look like a healthy town. If you were to imagine it before the apocalypse, this does not look like a healthy area. There are buildings that were falling apart that they were already demolishing, but I don't know. Let's go back over here and look for a second. This is not a distressed name on here. Like, the sign doesn't look distressed. As in, it's like broken up and messed up intentionally or anything like that. These look pretty good. There are some boarded up windows. There are some plants on the outside, so this was a used building before it got exploded. I think this was targeted. And I don't mean to be conspiratorial, but let me put on my tinfoil hat and say that I am not speaking in relation to any real-life entity when I make these speculations. I am, but we're gonna pretend I'm not. If there is a large pharmaceutical company that has their hands in a lot of different places, like we speculate... I will let you guys go watch the other video before I tell you any of that stuff. We'll talk about it during the next stream. But, if Higashi had their hands in enough places, why would we assume that they don't actually have sway in the government? Whenever we talk about, like, Resident Evil, those bad companies, Umbrella and the like, whatever the underground facility name was, the Connections, all of them, they had hands in ultimately what the government wound up doing. Even if they didn't actually push the button, they influenced somebody to push the button. If there is a news entity saying something is going on in our town, let me go over here and actually get my other piece of evidence. There is something going on in our town, and there are a lot of people missing, and we want answers. We hired a brand new mayor that is going to try and find out what's happening to our citizens. And they start advertising that on their news. They put it on the TV, and some company, Higashi, says, we do not want them talking about this. That would mean that this particular hospital was ground zero for where they were finding out some bad things were happening to people. I'm trying really hard to not give away some of the stuff that I talk about in the video because I don't want to step on the video, but there is evidence Higashi was hiding bodies. And not just a few of them. What if this is the town they were getting them from? And the reason why this place got bombed was not because it was necessarily overrun with zombies yet, and they took out the news station and the mayor. There's my tinfoil hat theory. There, that's all I got. That's what I got for you. And maybe they're not putting out the fire was also a way of hiding this information about what was going on in this town. Fallout is 1,000 times worse in 7 days? It's a possibility that Higashi and what they were doing could have been on par with the Vault folks, or Murkoff, or any number of corrupt corporations. We don't know how bad it could possibly get. So Fluffy was the mayor and the budget allocation to his food and drink, and he used it to send up for the roads? It's a possibility. I mean, seriously, Fluffy is over here. He's inside of the office. Maybe he's the reason why the bowling alley got built. See? Look at that shirt. The new mayor was a bowler. That's the reason that place is there. We don't know. We have got new lore. Guys, we've got new lore. Alright. That is it for this biome, this speculation. That is a whole lot of speculation. And this one is very tough because The wasteland, there is a lot of evidence that a lot of really, really bad stuff happened there and was subsequently buried. This one, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe a couple of bombs went off, but there's no nuclear anything here. Everything's spread out. The biome doesn't really make sense. Jen is sus, and all kinds of stuff. But maybe more of this will make sense after we move to the other biomes and see what they've changed there. I know the snow biome has gotten some changes that I have never seen, but before we can go to the snow biome, we have to go to the desert biome because that's the next one on the list according to the Fun Pimps and the direction they want us to go. So that's going to be the next one. Chaplain, how you doing? Corey, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Garrigus, how you doing?
Here.
Corrupt corporations in Navezgane, is FIFA represented here too? I don't know. I don't know. Everything that's happening here in 7 days is basically Tuesday for a vault. Yeah, basically. The difference is the vault was like, Vault Tech was more like, all of you bad corporations, we're going to give you your own group of vaults. So if this happened in Fallout, Hagashi would have gotten a vault or 2 or 3. Basically. How's the lore hunting go? Well, there's a lot of suspect going on here. But we do think that Fluffy was the mayor. Right here. And he contracted out to have a bowling alley built. Because it is one of the nicer buildings in the entire town. I think that's the reason why this building was even built. It's because the mayor was a bowler. Are all the POIs in Navezgane or just some random gen only? I think all the ones that are supposed to be story-based are here. Like, I don't remember this one, seeing this one before. But obviously, if they're in the process of working on an old POI or something like that, they would have pulled it off the map until they were ready to work on it. I do hope that they do something with this, because this looks retarded. Just 100%, this doesn't even look like it should be a thing. Is this 2 different buildings? Doesn't look right. And how many construction crews do you know that would do this? And like, this whole building is being held up by these little 4x4s, you know? That doesn't seem safe. They're like, oh no, watch out. This thing right here may fall over. Don't worry, we got some 4x4s and some traffic cones. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I know that they're planning on exploding that, and I guess maybe the... What do they call that? Not explosive, but the other way. They usually do these explosives where they try to get it condensed down on top of themselves. I don't know what that's called. Maybe they thought maybe that might get pulled down on top of it, but there's... Like, each one of the corners, they've got, like, little pieces of the old building left in here, which look really weird. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand what they're doing. It doesn't seem like a thing that they would actually do. You tear it down and finish putting up the wall. Yeah? Implosion. Yeah, that. Not only that, but the thin buildings are very small. Yeah. But like I said, this town 100% seems like it was falling apart well before the apocalypse, and maybe, like I said, the new mayor is actually responsible for trying to revitalize the town. Knock down the old buildings and bring in new stuff. Like I said, maybe that's the reason why he's got the bowling alley. Some of these buildings that are exploded right now were probably exploded during the collapse of it, in which case that means this building and this building would have been nice buildings, and possibly even that building. Whereas, you know, and that building probably was nice too. And these sections over here, all of this was still in the process of being redone. Even this kind of looks okay. Like, maybe this building was touched up. And all of this area was just like... I mean, honestly, this town looks like a hazard area. You know, like... what are those towns? In the areas where they built cars up north. If anybody actually knows which town I'm talking about. we'll see news articles occasionally about it, but there were big towns that were erected around like car manufacturers and things like that. And they would spread out really, really big, and then the town would lose the manufacturing thing, like the car places went overseas. And all of those businesses and all of those like buildings and stuff that cropped up around it would just slowly fall in disrepair as people moved out. We've got places like that in our town. All of our textile industry moved overseas when Clinton decided to make it cheaper to do it over there. So maybe this town is, like I said, this used to have a large business, and maybe it was the Shamway that is over here. It might have been this business. I don't know of any other big business. I mean, we do have a mining facility, but that mining facility looked newer, and that looks older. So maybe at one point, these businesses cropped up around that facility. Maybe the news place. They had a hospital and all that kind of stuff like that, and then after that died, the town started to go into disrepair. They elect a new mayor, the new mayor starts bringing in new businesses, and obviously he's got to bring in his bowling alley, and then people start disappearing from his town. And he starts getting angry that people are disappearing from his town, and they start talking about it on the news. Some company doesn't appreciate the fact that he's talking about it on the news. They bomb his house, and that, and get a couple of others, and that's where we're at. There we go. There we go. That's all I got. Doesn't make any sense any other way. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could force it to make other sense, and it could be a whole lot more random than that, but me personally, I gotta have a story along with it, and obviously Fluffy got to be the hero of the story, guys. He's got to be. Feels like a battle zone, yeah. Old dying town, infused with new business, and some locals got angry when the corpo started acting sus? Yeah, possibly. It would make sense, especially since we're not that far from here to... Let me see if I can actually peek at it. Hang on, let me get the sun out from that side. I mean... This is the town where the big bad guy should be, right? It's right down the road. If they're gonna take people from their town, it would be suspicious, right? So what if they go to the town over to get their test subjects? This is the next town. We're looking at the Navezgane map and how it all makes sense. That looks suspicious. Just saying. Maybe the mining helped funded everything? Yeah, but the mining could be the new business that they found that actually brought in some new blood around here. New investment. Like, oh, we found some riches over here. Let's bring some more towns over here. I don't know why it would be so far away from the mining area, except that nobody wants to live next to a mining area. So it would kind of make sense. But yeah, it could have given this particular town a little bit of extra pool. I mean, they got themselves a crack-a-book. So, yeah. Bowl or lose your jobs, move out of my town. Yeah. Fluffy's bowling rule or die? Yes, exactly. I'm absolutely always forever going to believe this place is ruled by Fluffy and his bowling league. It is now canon. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is a little bit early. We did finish a little bit early, but I'm gonna go ahead and end it. This room is already devastatingly hot, and I have a puppy outside that needs to come in because he's gonna be going her, probably about right now because he wants his snacks. So I'm gonna go ahead and end off the stream. This has been a lot of fun. This one was harder to put together than the, what is it, Dyersville that's up there? Because that place just looks like everybody evacuated. It looks crazy. So, yeah, I think we're going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for being here, and hang on just a second. I am going to drop a link for my video where we're talking about lure with the game, but this time It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be lore according to some of the stuff and things we learned from the traders' mouths themselves, which I am sure you guys are going to enjoy. And a couple of thoughts that I had about some of that stuff and things, because I honestly now think that they're doing Wrecked a disservice, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Yep. Alright. There you go. If you guys are interested in checking out more lore, that is the latest video, and that's in a playlist of several videos if you guys are interested in more video content about the lore. We get into a lot of different things, not just the POIs. I talk about the zombies. I talk about how the blood moon can actually be scientifically proven and all of that stuff. So, been looking through the files more, not found anything else of interest. Not really, except that I honestly feel like they've kind of messed Rex's character up. In my head, I'm sitting here thinking, why on earth do the fun pimps like Rex's character? Because they all know somebody. I think the problem is they're taking into account all of Rex's lines that they have recorded and put in the file. The problem is we don't hear all of those lines. So all of the redeeming qualities that they like about Rex, we never even know about. But I don't actually talk about all of that stuff in the video. I am going to offer it for people if they want to see it. If I get enough requests for it, I'll stick it in the Discord on a Google Drive thing and allow people to peruse it. But I will be talking more about it whenever I analyze each individual trader separately. This specifically is about a little bit about the traders and what we did learn. You didn't need to hear Rex sing. I think it would actually have been better if we had heard Rex sing. Honestly, I like Rex's character more now that I've listened to all of those lines than I have in a long time. Not that he's a great character, he just has some redeeming qualities. Yeah. He's a very hard character to like because of how they wrote him in the game, not because according to how he is. His story is half missing. Let me put it that way. If you go into the voice lines in the game, you find out half of his story is missing. And it's honestly a tragedy. Because any of his redeeming qualities have been left out of the game, and the fun pips are like, why don't people like our boy? Because you didn't put his lines in the game. Holy crap, people can't like him for all of his lines if all of his lines aren't in the game. Am I feeling okay? Never thought I'd hear you talk about Rex like that. I actually feel bad. Because somebody went out of their way, they recorded these lines, the lines were written, and they just don't include the lines in the game. Half of Jen's lines, you never hear them in the game. All of the traders are actually like this. A lot of the traders' lines are not in the game, or they don't say their lines often enough for them to get all the way through the dialogue, and you have no interest in going back to the traders because they are so poorly implemented in the game that why even bother? You do it just so you can move on to the next trader. Honestly, I feel like they haven't done the traders, they haven't integrated them properly. And I think some of that is intentional because some of their lines include story bits that they have intentionally had to leave out. So maybe eventually we'll actually understand the traders the way they were meant to be understood instead of the way they currently are. Yeah, we found so many hidden lines. So many. It is ridiculous. And I don't go through all of them inside the video. I only hit the ones that specifically for what we're talking about. Like I said, we'll do a character profile on them later. On the channel, we'll do a character profile on each one of them, but not in the middle of me doing the POI stuff. I've already got a list of things I need to do. Need a better reason to go to the traders than monies and missions. I think the reason they haven't implemented anything more is because what the traders are supposed to help with can't be implemented until after the story is implemented. Some of their lines have to do with that. Some of their interactivity with how you interact with them is directly related to the main story. So I'm not sure how they're going to fix that for people who don't want to play the story mode, because they say the story mode and the other mode, the sandbox mode, are supposed to be separate. I don't know how they're going to fix that, but it should be interesting once we get to that particular point. Anyway, Ladies and gentlemen, you guys have fun. You tell him to F off every time. I'm not saying that Rekt is not a great character. I'm just saying they left all of his humor out. Every single line that had any bit of humor to it, the stuff that would actually have you laughing at him every now and then, are completely left out of the game. So the fun pimps are over there giggling about a joke that they haven't told anybody else. You know, when someone tries to tell you a joke and they start giggling before they get to the punchline, that's what the fun pimps have been doing for years when it comes to the fun pimps. And Rekt. He's just not as bad as he seems. Yeah. He's not an angel. None of the traitors are actually angels. None of the traitors are actually good. There's a couple that are not horrible, but they're all sketch. They're all sketch. That's just Texas for you. Get told off at least 4 times a day. Seems pretty regular. Yes. Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and call it here. I'm going to go outside and take care of a puppy. I will see you guys tomorrow. We are going to be playing some Fallout 76. We are eventually going to be swapping up our schedule with the Fallout 76 to include other games, but Tigress and I need to get on the same page about another game that we can play, but she's going to be here for tomorrow, so that's what we're going to play. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a wonderful day, and you stay shiny. Bye! Bye, YouTubes! Well, that was a lot of fun. It was like pulling teeth.